Got to adjust my chair. All right, we are live. Good morning, everyone. Ooh. It's Tuesday, February 24th of 2026. If this is your first time here or if you're watching this in the live playback, what we do here on the channel is we stream Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We'll do a comprehensive wellness check on the overall crypto market. From there, we move on to silver and gold. We'll look at the U.S. stock market. We'll look at oil. We'll look at the Japanese bond market. Ideally, what we're trying to do is get a good picture of where the economy is heading, especially from a position of cryptocurrency. I'm going to mute my mic here, or I watched the stream on my phone just to make sure it all looks good. From there, we'll move on to news articles. The news article for today we have to talk about is that the Clarity Act itself is not doing so great. We thought that there was going to be some good movement over the weekend. We don't know exactly what, but the poly markets have shown that confidence of getting the Clarity Act passed has actually significantly fallen off. And we're going to address that in today's stream. For now, I'll say good morning to those that are in the chat. Good morning, Scorpio, and good morning, Gangsta. I'm going to hop right into the charts today, and we're going to get this thing moving. Let me share my screen here. So, markets are overall down. It's been a pretty rough month, I think, for a majority of crypto. Bitcoin's creeping down to 64,000. I believe it was at 63 earlier this morning. Yeah, when I woke up, we were actually, if you think about it, it's had a small recovery since I initially woke up, but it was bottoming out around 63 at the low end, just barely peaking into 62,000. Now it's back up to 64. Lots of whiplash here in the crypto space, but that also can be extrapolated out to all of the different coins. Right now, the entire altcoin market is tied to Bitcoin. And there's an interesting thought. I was kind of peeling at myself last night as I was just thinking about the market in general. And I want to leave you guys with, or not leave because we just started, but I want to get this idea going with you guys that what is the purpose of altcoins? Like, why do we even have them in the first place? Bitcoin was the original cryptocurrency. It came out in 2009. After a few years, other alternatives started to arise. Now, there's no one right answer to this, but I do want to get people's minds working. If Bitcoin was such an awesome thing, why were all of these different coins like Ethereum and XRP, why were they being spun from Bitcoin? And on top of that, why are there so many Bitcoin forks? For example, here in the top 10 list, you have Bitcoin Cash. The answer to this, in my opinion, is that Bitcoin deviated from its original purpose, and it essentially was hijacked by some shadowy figures. We don't know who they are exactly, but one thing is clear. They wanted to tear down the original vision of Bitcoin. Now, other developers would then leave Bitcoin to start their own chains. Here on this channel, we're all about utility coins. That would put us very squarely in the altcoin bracket. So when I'm looking at all the different things that are down, I see all these amazing projects. They're being held back by the hijacked Bitcoin. So when I see, a lot of negativity, a lot of FUD on Twitter, people are saying, oh, my coin is down, this project I invested into. Stand is that these alternative coins, the altcoins, are unfortunately tied with the hijacked Bitcoin. We all want this to decouple, and I think that it eventually will. But in the meantime, if the hijacked Bitcoin is down, so is everything else. So that's why we see, $1.35 XRP. I believe it dipped very briefly into the 120s. It was close. It didn't quite hit it, but we're back up to 136. So We are seeing some forward movement, at least in the past hour, but early in the morning around 8 a.m. to about 9:30, it did look like XRP was going to dip into the 120s for the first time since that very fateful crash back in early February. It briefly hit 115 about 3 weeks ago. Now it's, kind of sitting here around 130. In my opinion, I think we're going to see 115 again, and we're probably going to see it within the next couple of weeks. The Clarity Act does not look like it's doing very good right now, and that's the honest truth. The White House had an emergency meeting over the weekend. I thought it was going to mean good news. It looks like it actually might be in the other direction. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm just looking at all of the different movements in the market. It's basically the same thing across the board. No matter what your favorite coin is, just about everything has the exact same patterns. And almost in a frustrating way, it doesn't really matter what chart you look at. They all, in some ways, look pretty identical, at least for now. H-bar sitting at below 10 cents. This is a good buy. I bought some H-bar and I bought some Flare this morning. I've been easing up a little bit on my XRP. The only reason for that is because, truth be told, I'm actually happy with where I'm at with XRP. Doesn't mean I'm done buying it, but I'm looking at some of these price dips and I'm thinking to myself, this could be a good opportunity to play catch up with H-bar, to play catch up with Quant. Quant sitting nice and secure here at 63. Wouldn't you know it, two of my favorite coins are back to back here in the 60s, Flare and Quant. I'm looking at these as opportunities right now to accelerate some of my positions on them, whereas I'm very happy with where I was with XRP. I bought XRP all the way through 2025. At some points in time, it was the only coin I was buying. So I'm in a position right now where I'm thinking, well, I might want to, expand on H-bar, Flare, and Quant. I'm happy with my XRP. I'm not done buying it, but I'm in a position right now where I'd like to kind of build up my side pockets, if you will. By the way, guys, my cold is for the most part gone, but I still have some thick congestion from time to time. Hopefully that improves over the week, but I might have a little bit of breathing issues today as I do feel a little backed up. The good news is that mentally I'm back to 100%. So last week, perforated eardrum from having congestion plus being on the airplane, burst an eardrum. You guys know that that really had me messed up. That part has fully healed. I can fully use both of my ears again as if nothing ever happened. Still got some nasal congestion, not a big deal, but I might sound a little nasally today, or I might really be breathing through my mouth a little bit more than I'd like to be. So Millpower says the stimmies are coming. I'm definitely putting every single if the stimmies come, I'm putting every single last penny of it into the market. Now the Clarity Act itself has a lot of issues going for it, and a big thing is the stable coin yield did not get fixed, or they could not come to a good agreement on that. I want to look at the Poly market. I'm going to go to polymarket.com here. I'm starting to warm up a little bit to these market. I didn't really like the concept at first, but you actually can get some pretty good information out of these. If nothing else, it lets you know where the general sentiment is on things. I'm still not sure how I feel about this. Is this gambling, or is there actually some practical outcome to this? Now, I think one thing that you could say in favor of this is that I'm not going to have a position on something and put money on it without being confident in it. So if I was going to bet money on this, I would make sure that I was voting as well researched and as well informed as I could. I wouldn't just be throwing money to the wind. So giving that some consideration, the poly markets, it does actually have some pretty good information sometimes. Now that said, there are also things on the poly market that are completely a waste, right? Like, you have a speech from Barack Obama. Is he gonna say the word cheeseburger? That's the kind of stuff that I look at it and I shake my head and I'm saying, what are people doing? But in this particular case, I think this is a very good thing to have on the poly market. We can see right here that as the weekend began, February 19th, 7 p.m., it was at 82%. So the poly markets were thinking this was essentially a done deal. We're now at 52%. That's a 30% drop off in just a few days over the weekend. Now, this is very concerning. It can also be a good thing though, because no bill is better than a bad bill. So the last thing we want, and this is the thing I'm really keeping an eye out for when it comes to the Clarity Act, is it's basically game over if they write into this Clarity bill that cold wallets like Ledger, Decent, Tangem have to have an operating agreement that you register your wallet with the IRS in order to use it. If that happens, crypto as we know it is dead. That is a hot take from me, but that is a take. If you have to register your wallet with the IRS, that means you're going to be more surveilled. It's going to be easier to track you than if you were to be using fiat cash. And it would completely destroy everything that we've spent so much time building up. And I know some people are just here to get rich, and that's fine. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinions and feelings on things. Maybe to some extent, I used to be one of those people, but the longer that I'm in this space, the more I realize this is more than just getting rich and making money. This truly is about getting your financial freedom back, making it so that your money is protected so that you could never be debanked again. I've never been debanked, but I've heard testimonies from different content creators that have been, and it paints a very grim picture. It's your money, but you can't even access your own money. Or in some cases, when you get debanked, they write you a check and say, here's your balance, but you're gone. Oh, you think, well, okay, then I guess you just go stick it into another bank. Nope. All the banks have a communication system that says, don't partner with a non-user. A non is a bad client. And so now you can't go to this bank or that bank. All banks unilaterally across the board say, nope, we're not going to work with this guy. And when you have a situation like that, it's almost, I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but it's almost like giving you a death sentence without the execution. Because where can you go? You can't bank with anyone. So you have this giant check that you can't even cash. It creates true problems, and it's something that I'm actually very concerned with. And so crypto was the answer to that, and it still is, because you can buy a cold wallet and you can store it up with funds. And as long as you're not exchanging through other exchanges, like you're doing peer-to-peer crypto, you're going to be able to hide your identity through it. The banks will not be able to prevent you from transacting. So for example, if you were buying something online and all you needed to do was have a wallet address and you could send funds to that wallet, you could continue living life. And I know that the Silk Road was a big part of this, but it doesn't have to just be the Silk Road. You could do your own financing without needing a bank whatsoever. If the Clarity Act forces these cold wallet companies to update their operating agreement and that you have to have your wallet registered with the government in order for it to continue to be used, it's basically over for crypto. So just something to be aware of. The Clarity Act, by the way, I'm opening a window. The Clarity Act, at least for now, and I'm going to back up. I think I'm sitting a little bit too close to the mic today. There we go. As it stands, Clarity Act is not passed, so we don't necessarily have to worry about all of this yet, but it's something I want people to be aware of, because a bad bill is worse than no bill. And we can still get to adoption through other means. I mean, there's more than one country in the world. The United States of America is just one country. Europe and Asia does not necessarily need an American Clarity Act to continue doing business. It just means that American-based companies can't get involved. It's going to slow everything down, and that's unfortunate, but it does not mean that crypto is dead. We don't necessarily need the Clarity Act to survive as a crypto ecosystem. Millpower, he's got a lot going in the chat, so I'm going to read some of these off. I think some of these are good things for people to know. So Mill is saying that a DEX would be one place that you could operate if you were debanked, and the U.S. government doesn't get to tell foreign companies how to regulate. Exactly. So this is becoming an issue where if you're a nationalist, if you're someone that strongly believes the United States of America and you live in the United States of America, you're almost looking at the Clarity Act as something that America needs more than crypto needs. Now, crypto would benefit from the Clarity Act, but I do think that the American people would really benefit from it, because this is a situation where, you know, and I hate to say it, but I might be included in this, is if we if we don't get digital clarity here, but there's parts of the world that do, and we're very heavily invested in crypto, you might find that some U.S. citizens are just moving to where the crypto freedom is, and you see that to an extent already. I know there's a lot of people that have already moved to Thailand and the Philippines and parts of East Asia. Personally, I'd like to fix our problems here in the United States. I am an American citizen. It's where I'm from. It's what I know. I'd like to see things work out here, but I'm not going to necessarily say that moving abroad isn't an option. It's not the option I'd prefer to take, but being into crypto does give me, and it gives the people here on this channel, the freedom to move around if it comes to that. So just think about that, and we'll see how this unfolds throughout the week. Chris says, I think my next grab is going to be H-Bar. Been buying tons of XRP lately. Chris, I'm in the same boat as you. I don't have an upper limit on XRP. But my XRP is proportionally higher than everything else combined. I'm looking at a 10 cent, or I'm looking at H-Bar below 10 cents, and I'm thinking, this might be an opportunity for me to really bag up some H-Bar. And I'd also like to start getting more quant. I have a little bit, but not a whole lot. XRP and Flare are definitely my top two. Looking at 9/10 of a penny on Flare, I'm like, it's a hard decision to make. Do I get more H-Bar? Do I get more Flare? Do I start picking up quant? Obviously, you can do all three, but I'm looking at these and I'm thinking maybe I can ease up on XRP just for a small period of time to really flesh out these three different portfolios. I think all four of those projects are going to do very well. And just because those are the four I'm buying doesn't mean that people can't buy other stuff. I saw someone who said they're very bullish on Internet Computer. I've seen people ask about Aster before. I've even seen people talk about Polkadot. Personally, I'm not. Polkadot just seems to have gone down since it started, but there's options out here. I know some people like Sui, some Avalanche. Personally, I'm staying away from Zebik for now. And there's some people that even like Bitcoin Cash. It's the only one I'm really definitely not a fan of is Canton. I'm sorry. I know that there's some people that are looking at Canton and saying that this is the best thing since sliced bread. I look at Canton as like giving up. This coin came out of complete nowhere, and it's the only thing doing well right now. And wouldn't you know it, Canton has all the Wall Street banks singing its praises. To me, it goes against everything that I believe. I'm sorry. I know that it's doing well. I personally, from like a resting on my laurels standpoint, I'm not going to be buying Canton. Of course, this is just my personal opinion. You guys don't have to do everything I say. But I won't be getting Canton anytime soon. Let's see. Mill says 100 a month. Applies $70 to H-bar, $15 to flare, and 15 to quant. Once H-bar bag gets filled, adjust to the right. I agree with that. I would like to at least propose the idea. I know that everyone has different places that they're coming from, and not everyone makes the same money. But 100 a month seems to me to be too small in volume. Now, there's things that you can do. You can DoorDash, you can Uber, you can get on Fiverr and edit TikToks. There's no shortage of Gen Z kids that all want to be TikTok famous. Get on Fiverr, edit them for $5 a short. There's things that you can do to accelerate your income outside of your day job, even if it's like kind of small menial labor. These things do add up. You can very easily make $100 to $150 a weekend on DoorDash, just get in your truck or your car from 6 p.m. to midnight. I know that's not the fun way to spend your weekend. But I do think, it's something that I strongly believe in, and I made a video on it before called volume investing. But I think that it's a good idea to, and this is not financial advice, but to accelerate how much that you can contribute per month. And Mill, not trying to contradict what you're saying. It's just something that I believe in, that $100 a month isn't going to cut it. I know that you were saying that just to keep the numbers easy, but you'll go on different social media platforms and people will say like, "Oh, I'm putting like $50 a month in," and then there's like, you get like the paddings on the back, like, "Oh, good job." But if we just run the numbers here, putting $50 into XRP would have to go to like $10,000 to $50,000 for you to have any meaningful amount of results from that. And so I know that everyone's coming at this from different income levels, but there's options out there. Even if your job doesn't pay as much as someone else's, you can still go out, do the DoorDash on the weekends when people are at football games. Instead of going to the football game, deliver food, right? Or drive Uber. Those things really do add up. By the way, I live in a city. I live in a city market. I live in Detroit. I'll just say I live in Detroit. If I were to get into my car on a Sunday morning at like 11 a.m. or maybe even earlier at like 9 a.m. and drive Uber, I would be getting surge rates from before the Lions game starts. So they always start at 1 p.m. You get all the people going to the tailgate. You're going to be getting that money. If you wanted to, you could actually just hang out in Detroit and watch the game. Just go to a local pub and watch it. And as soon as the game ends, get in your car and start driving people home and getting that surge on the back end. There's clever ways to make actually pretty decent money on the weekends. And I just want to get people thinking about this stuff, because this is a way where you can accelerate your ability to really stack these things. By the way, I'm going to get off Canton's screen because I don't want people thinking that I'm endorsing Canton. With $1.35 XRP, I don't know how much longer this is going to last. Maybe it's 3 months, maybe it's 6 months, but I do tend to think that by the end of 2026, we'll be out of this. We'll be out of this mire that we're in right here. So I don't think this is permanent, but this buying opportunity is probably as good as it's ever going to get from this point forward. I mean, we're officially below where it was December 7th of 2024. I do remember back in this time frame, let me drag the chart out so that it looks a little cleaner. I remember when I was buying XRP around here, where I was kind of kicking myself for not being more invested back when it was down here. I'll be the first one to admit I was buying XRP down here, but I wasn't really serious about it. I was basically just, I hear people talking about this thing, I'll throw some money in once in a while and we'll see how it all shakes out. When I saw this happen, this is when it started to become apparent to me that I needed more XRP. So I spent all of 2025 buying as much XRP as I could get my fingers on. And as we continue to drop and drop and drop and drop, we now find ourselves at this level that we were at back here, where it's like, all right, this is my chance. This is my shot to make up for that lost time, learn from the past mistakes, and really stack when the prices are extremely cheap. And that is my mindset, not financial advice. Everyone can do as they like, but that's going to be my perspective. By the way, I see there's about 50 of you on here. If I could get some, at least, if you guys could get me at least 30 likes, that would go a long way at helping people find this stream. On top of that, this is as good a time to share this as any. I'm going to be pasting the link to my Discord. I encourage everyone to join it. It's a really strong community. We're up to about 70 members on the Discord. We're very active. We're sharing news. You're going to also be able to talk with people that are, active in this live stream. It's a good way to kind of get to know your fellow XRP, Flare, Quant, HBAR, enthusiasts. And there's other stuff too. We're not just on those four. It's just those are my four favorite. This is a great place for us to kind of communicate, crowdsource ideas, and it's also an opportunity. We do a lot of DeFi on this channel. I know some of this stuff can be pretty confusing, so you guys want to get a hold of me. I'm usually on Discord late at night playing video games. I keep my camera on. I just stream while I play games. Some people have asked me about Firelight, and I say, all right, in between matches, let's hop into Firelight and let's figure this thing out. By the way, vaults have not increased yet. You guys are going to hear from me as soon as this thing does. Right now, the vaults are at 25 million. We know that some point this week, they're going to get raised. Unfortunately, we were not told when. That seems to be the way cryptos, for one reason or another, crypto never gives you a concrete date on something. It's just, so here's a ballpark, and when it goes live, it goes live. It would be nice to know exactly when this opens up so that I could just tell you guys when it opens up. Since we don't know, I'm in here, I'm refreshing this screen a couple times a day to see when it does. You guys can bet whenever this does happen, I'm going to come on here, make a quick video. That way it doesn't get missed by anybody. And of course, you guys will be hearing about it from me in the Discord. So just keep an eye out for that. I'm going to cover over a few different market categories real quickly. I'm jumping over here to the Japanese bond market. We've been tracking this for about 3 months now. It continues to go down. Right now it's at 2.1%. It was at its highest 2.37. So this has come down quite a bit in the past 2 months. We can see on January 20th is when it hit that all-time high. It looks like the Japanese bond market is continuing to correct. I'm going to cross-reference this with the cost of oil in Japan. Cost of oil has actually come down in the past day. I know that's not too crazy of a statement, but we can see this goes down. Why is this relevant? Why does this matter? If you're a believer of the XRP domino theory, then you would know that there's a few things a few coals in the fire that are waiting to play out. It'd be the reverse carry trade with the Japanese yen and the spike of oil prices in yen. So the two are kind of interlocked together as far as accelerating XRP's adoption over there in Japan. With the price of oil being it's still up on the week, but it's going to have to be way more than 11,000 yen per barrel before this thing really takes off. And with the Japanese bond market easing a little bit, I think the reverse carry trade, it could still be in play, but this is trending away from that, which actually in a roundabout way, I think is probably better for society. If this thing were to happen, we would see widespread sell-offs in the U.S. stock market, and it would affect people in very real ways. So I want to caution everyone against hoping for bad things in the world to happen just so we can pump our crypto bags. I don't think that that's how I want it to go. I'd be much happier with this thing taking longer, but going the correct moral way. Because what's the point of being extremely rich if everything around you completely sucks? That's not the kind of life I want to live in. I don't want to be hiding in a gated community because I'm rich and everyone around me is not. I'm more of the, I want everybody to, of course I want to be rich, right? Everyone wants to be rich, but I want my neighbors to be, I don't know if I'd say I want them to also be rich, but I want my neighbors to be doing well enough that I can say, hey, Bob, how's life? I don't want to have to be looking over my shoulder everywhere I go. That's not the kind of society that I want to live in. So maybe in a selfish way, I want other people to do well so that they don't have an incentive to come after me. Maybe that's me just being a certain level of greed. But in a roundabout way, I don't want bad things happening in the world because I don't want the standard of society lowering. And if this Japanese bond crashes, the U.S. stock market would collapse. It'd probably go down to the low 5,000s or maybe even to the 4,000s. And you can bet that would mean layoffs. That would mean more unemployment. When unemployment rises, the rate of there's that special word YouTube doesn't like you using, but it starts with an S and rhymes with cyanide. That goes way up. Street crime goes way up. Those are things that I would like to avoid, so I look at these things with caution, and I always try to remind myself, don't wish for certain things to happen just because it will make you rich. But we also have to acknowledge that if these things do happen, we don't have control whether or not they're going to. So it's important for us still to track it so that we can see, where is this thing landing. I would just encourage people not to get excited over this kind of stuff and to realize that this would be a bad thing for people. Not for us, but it would be bad for other people. Silver, Mill Power and I have been talking about this. I think, yes, Mill, that is correct. I don't know how to handle these YouTube censorship things. I've only been doing this for a couple months, and everyone else is doing it, so I do it too. But an early checkout, right? Voluntarily leaving the movie before the credits roll. You guys get where I'm going with that? That goes up with unemployment. So I feel I hate talking with these weird abstract ways, but it's just what you have to do on this platform. Silver being at 87 bucks. Mill and I have been talking. There's some long shorts, or not long shorts. There's some long contracts out there that get fulfilled on February 26th. It's the first leg. That means that those orders have to be delivered, which means the physical silver has to be delivered. If there's more silver to deliver than what the COMEX can actually ship out, I believe they have 90 million ounces. It's something in that ballpark. Might not be 90 million exact, but If they have to fulfill more than what they have available, you can bet that the price of silver is going to explode like a rocket up into the well into the hundreds, 200s, maybe even 300s. And that'll move very violently. Now it's going to, anyone who has a short position on silver is basically going to be screwed. So you guys know me, I don't like leverage trading. By the way, anyone who has paper silver is also screwed, and anyone who has an order for silver but does not receive their silver is also screwed. So this is a very weird situation. Really, the only people that I think are going to win from this are those that actually already have silver securely in their house, the physical silver, and also the physical gold, because these are going to be moving side by side. For that reason, if you don't currently own silver, if you don't have physical silver, I would stay away. And that's, even if this thing goes to 300 bucks, and I knew it was going to 300, the fact that I probably wouldn't actually be able to cash out on it is enough for me to stay away. Don't take for granted the situations with the GameStop and Robinhood back in 2021. There were a lot of people that theoretically made money, but when it came time to cash out, all of a sudden the apps aren't working, right? So we could very much see a situation like that happening here. By the way, it looks like we've got 60 of you guys on here. If you're brand new, if you haven't seen this channel before, I'm going to pin my Discord. I highly recommend that you join. We'll never ask for your keys or your wallet on my channel, wallet address that is. If you see that kind of behavior, let me know and we'll take care of those people right away. This is ultimately about helping you guys out with DeFi. So happy to have you guys on board. Also subscribe if you have not already. Stock market sitting pretty flat. It's been around 6,800 for about 3 days in a row now. Nothing too crazy there. I'm going to quickly take you guys over to my Flare data set because we're getting pretty close here to 1 month's full of data. If you don't know, I'm doing what I call a Flare mini series. So there's going to be 6 installments. The first installment was the launch video. I'm going to be doing my next installment on March 1st. So you can see right here, we're getting pretty close to it. That's only, well, that's going to be this Sunday. So we're going to have that video out this Sunday. There's going to be a lot to cover, but since you guys are here, I can kind of show you guys this. Here in the blue set is all of my Flare. Over here in the orange and red, this is all of my FXRP. So I'm tracking all of this daily. What I want to do with this is find out what is the best opportunity for getting DeFi yield. The Flare token has a lot of different things natively, by the way, on the Flare network. You've got wrapping and delegating, you've got staking, and you've got the collateral pools. What we're trying to do here is figure out what gives you the best return, but is also the safest, right? So something you should understand about staking, once you stake, you cannot pull it out. So let's say that I've got something in for 6 months, which I do. These Flare tokens are staked until August 3rd. So that's going to be 5 months from now. I can't pull these out. So there's some inherent risk with that. What if I needed them? Can't pull them out. That right there is a risk. So they're going to offer more reward because you're giving up more. But at the same time, wrapping and delegating, super low risk. You can come and go as you please. You're going to get less stake, or you're going to get less reward than you would with staking, but you get some flexibility, you get some security in knowing that whatever happens, you're not going to lose your wrapped Flare. You can always go and redeem it and cash it in. We got the birds chirping, so I'm going to close the window. And same goes for the collateral. So the collateral and the wrapping are very similar, but the cool thing with collateral is that you also get an FXRP reward. You can see over here that I've got 0.31 FXRP out of this so far. So factor that in when considering whether or not wrapping and collateral are better, because there's the exchange rate is currently around 150 Flare for 1 XRP. So this would be roughly, I don't know, 45 to 50 XRP, converting 0.31 FXRP. I'm going to quickly jump to these different wallets, and we're going to do some data recording here live on the stream. So I've got Flare assets already open, so we'll start with that. So let's refresh this page and see what we've got. So I've got 50,157.02 out of the collateral pools. Nothing too crazy has happened with this in the past couple of days. But you can see that I'm getting a little bit every day, but then there are also big jumps. So these big jumps are going to be the epochs. But the small amount that I'm getting every day is the reward I get when people are actually minting FXRP. My Flare is actively being used to generate FXRP, and I do get a small reward from that. So it's pretty cool. I would expect when the Firelight vaults go up, I'm probably going to see some small or possibly a large bump in those daily minting rewards, separate from the epochs. But I have to imagine there's probably going to be a lot minted. And if Uphold does start minting FXRP on their own app, we could expect, I mean, we might see as much as another 100 million minted. So you can bet that I will definitely be getting a good size of that. Now, I only have 50,000 in. I'm not collateral pooling on my main wallet. So I use a Descent, and for whatever reason, the Descent does not have integration with Flare assets. I don't know why. I wish that it did, but it doesn't. So I have to make the most with what I've got. So I'm using a Bifrost wallet for my Flare assets. I'm still using the Descent for my wrapping and my staking. So my Flare assets, the FXRP is up to 0.33. I'm getting about 0.01 of these a day. Sometimes I get 0.02. But it's been pretty steady, pretty consistent. I've got 1,000 FXRP in Morpho. I'm going to be bringing up to 1,000 in FXRP. I've already got it pre-minted, by the way. You can see if I go back to my mint screen, I've got 700 FXRP. It's sitting there ready to rock and roll. As soon as Firelight goes up, I'm going to actually finish the video I worked on Saturday, where I got to the Firelight screen, but because the vaults were full, I had to say, hey guys, I got to stop here because the vaults are closed. Well, I'm going to be able to go in there and finish that. I'll do it real fast. It's probably going to be like a 4 or 5 minute long video, but I'm at least going to have that coming out as soon as I possibly can. We just need to make sure that this thing opens up. Not a whole lot we can do until then. I'm just going to finish filling out this spreadsheet here. We'll jump over to, what's it called? Oopsie daisy. Put a slash in there by accident. We'll jump over to my Flare assets here. We'll count them all up. I'm going to go to Mystic because I do believe this one's also open. Since I've been in Mystic with my 1,000 FXRP, I've generated 194 Flare. It's not... Oh, this might not be out of date. Let me refresh the screen. There we go. We're at 208.63. So I've generated over 200 Flare. And mind you, I really did not have 1,000 in there until February 13th. So really, we're looking at about 1 to 2 weeks worth of real volume in here. I've generated 200 Flare from it. Not crazy, guys. Let's not get carried away here. Those numbers are not out of control, but look, your XRP was just sitting there not doing anything before. So anything that's greater than 0 at this point in time, I'm going to take. I know some people are saying, well, you know, I'm in this for bigger numbers, and I totally get it. And I think those options become available over time. FXRP has not, or XRP in general has not had good yield opportunities until now. I know that there's other stuff out there, But I don't trust most of the stuff that's out there. I do trust the Flare network. So yes, there's people out there that are using some pretty weird, wonky stuff to get big numbers out of their XRP. I don't trust it, and I think those people are going to get burned. That's my personal opinion. I won't mention what some of those protocols are, but I think some of you guys probably know what I'm referring to. So staking, nothing's happened yet. I expect the staking reward to hit tomorrow. I have it highlighted yellow for a reason. I'm expecting somewhere in the range of 400 to 500 flare. We'll see if I'm right about that. Mill says Andrew OE. I don't know what OE means. Let me catch up here on the chat because I think that I have missed a few comments here. Actually, let me drop my wrap flare in first. I think I have a reward to claim, and then I'll hit the chat. So here we go. I'm gonna take a screenshot. You guys know I like to screenshot my Epoch rewards. That way, there's a running log, some history, some evidence that these things are in fact real. I come from the IT space where whenever you make a report, you always have to have an evidence folder. So this is just something that's kind of carried over into this YouTube channel. I'm going to put this screenshot here over into the evidence folder. You can see I've got all these other ones in here. And this is a way for me to be honest with you guys. And then if anyone was ever like, well, is he actually showing us stuff that's true? Then you can come in and see, oh, okay, he really did claim 54.08 flare on February 24th. He's not just making shit, or sorry, I got to work on that. He's not just making things up just to make content. So this is kind of, this is me kind of proving the authenticity here. So that's why I do that. Now I'm going to drag this bad boy down. So here's where we're at now after I've claimed that. We're up to basically 700 flare, just shy. I mean, it's 689. We'll round that up. We're at about 700 flare generated since I started this with a base of 150,000 flare. We're going to see this get to 1,000, I believe, before March 1st, which would tell me that, okay, let's run the math here. This is 1 month of results. If I were to do this for 12 months, you'd be looking at somewhere around 1,000 flare a month, 12,000 flare every year, as long as I have 150,000 as my base. It's pretty good, you guys. Imagine if you were to, for example, just to put the ideas in your head, if you had 1 million flare, that would accelerate your yield rewards by about a factor of 6 on top of what we're doing on this series. So if I was generating 12,000 flare a year from just this, multiply that by 6, I'd be looking at around 60,000 flare per year. That's the starting point, by the way. These will compound on top of each other as you're in this longer and longer. You could run this operation and actually double the amount of flare you have in your total portfolio without having to buy any more. It would probably take between 6 and 8 years. If you had 1 million flare, you could get to 2 million flare without ever buying another token if you use the DeFi. To me, this is a very big no-brainer, you guys. Of course, I have to say it many times per stream, but of course, it's not financial advice. Always do your own research. By the way, I don't think watching my videos counts as research. I want you guys to go out and actually read the white papers. If you guys can do that for me, that would be awesome. But that's all I got to say about that. So I want to show this part because I think this is important. My delegation reward so far has hit 272 wrapped tokens since February 1st. My collateral pool, now I'm expecting this thing must be delayed by a little bit. But you can see that the collateral pool has not maintained pace very well with the wrapped flare. It started out that way. Actually, at one point, the collateral pool was outpacing the wrapped flare. I'm using Anchor, by the way, ANKR. I'm pretty satisfied with getting 55, every 3.5 days. That's pretty cool. It looks like on the collateral pool side of things, I'm using the AU agent. I'm getting about 25 every other day. So currently, the wrapped flare is outpacing collateral. However, the collateral pool has given me 33 or 0.33 FXRP, which would roughly translate to around 50 FLR. So really right now my collateral pool is around 200 FLR, whereas the delegation is at 272. At least for the first month of getting rewards, I would have to say wrapping has outpaced the collateral pool and has given me more value. I am still a firm believer that the staking is going to win by a country mile, you guys. I think that, again, guys, tomorrow I'm expecting to see somewhere around 500 hit this column right here in this yellow box. We'll see if that's true or not. For Firelight, I don't know what the yield is going to be yet. If it's anywhere between 4 and 6%, I'm going to be happy with that. I'd be very cautious to anyone hearing about yield opportunities that are giving, in some cases, a percent a day. No way. That doesn't mathematically make sense. Stay away from stuff like that. Anything that's offering a daily payout to me sounds iffy. And I'm going to leave it at that, but be careful when you're out there hearing about some of these other things out there that might not be sponsored by the Flare network, or in some cases by the XRPL. It just seems like if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, and I don't want you guys losing your stuff over DeFi. I want to make sure that we're doing this the right way. And use me as your guinea pig. I would be perfectly fine with you guys saying I'm not going to get into something unless Andrew's ponied up and did it first. And with what I'm doing here, to complete this experiment, in August, I'm actually going to drain this wallet. And so if I'm able to harvest all of this, I'm able to get this out of the wrap flare, get this out of FXRP, get out of Mystic and Morpho, and convert those back to their base forms, just regular XRP, just regular Flare. I'm going to move them back to my normal wallet. If I can successfully do that, then that's the green light that, hey, we went from end to end. We started in February, we ended in August. I got my rewards, I kept everything, and I made profit. That is the end goal for this. So I just want to encourage you guys, if someone's out there saying they get involved in something and they don't have any evidence that it works, be very cautious of those people. And that's basically all I gotta say about that. I'm going to be doing something similar for HBAR. I haven't launched it yet. I still need to, I'll probably want to experiment it first and then shoot the video. So I'm going to be working on that either today or tomorrow. That should come out pretty soon. What's going on, Turnpike? So expect at least one HBAR video at some point this week. I will have that to you guys, I promise. And then I'm going to see if I can kind of reconnect with some of the guys I met from Hedera themselves. I mean, I got to shake hands with them and see that, these are real people. Got to get some good conversations with them. I do think HBAR is going to have a piece to play in this overall space. I see some movement in the chat. You guys are talking about APYs. I just want to see what you guys are saying before we roll over to Twitter. Stav says, if you're gaining 60K Flare per year, that comes out to approximately $600 per year at the current price. So the hope would be that price of Flare goes way up. I said this on stream yesterday. I do believe, and this is you can write this down. It's a statement. I am making this statement. I do believe that Flare in our lifetime will be a $1 trillion network. So let's just run back some quick numbers here. Flare's current market cap. Flare's current market cap is at, let's just call it 750 million, at least as of right now. For this to be a $1 trillion asset, that means it'd have to go up by a factor of around 125x. I am making that claim. I'm not saying it's happening tomorrow. I'm not saying it's happening by 2030. I'm just saying in our lifetime, you know, and I think it's fair for me to do that, because you look at something like Apple, or you look at Amazon, or you look at Netflix, all of them have had over 100, or all of them have had over 1,000x opportunities since they've been launched. They've become household names. I think Flare becomes a household name for finance. I really do. I truly believe in this project. This is going to take time, but if this were to be a $1 trillion asset, that means it would be around $10 per token. So that's currently where my mind is at. I'm looking at this, you guys, it's not even a penny right now. And so another thing to think about, the exchange rate right now for Flare to XRP is about 150 Flare to 1 XRP. If XRP goes into the thousands, like I still think there's a potential that does happen, you guys, that if XRP really does go parabolic and enters the high triple digits and high quadruple digits, just divide that number by 150 and that should be at or around what the price of Flare will be. So I am extremely optimistic about all this. If you were to be getting 6,000, or what did we say it was? If we were to be getting 60,000 Flare per year just from 150,000 Flare, which, guys, by the way, that's like maybe like $1,000 or like $1,500 right now. I'm taking that to the bank all day. In the meantime, guys, this thing's gonna take a while. These things never move at the speed that you want them to. I'm in this for basically the rest of my life. This is going to be my life's work here. So if some of this doesn't pan out until I'm 50 years old, then that's what it is. But it's gonna move up like gradually. It's not like it's gonna go from 9/10 of a penny to a $10 token. Like it's not gonna be like bloop. So there's going to be relief. There's going to be a point where you look at this and you got a 25-cent Flare, and then you're going to be like, all right, this thing's starting to generate some money. I can start, you know, getting the crab legs a couple times a month, or I'm going to go down to Florida for a long weekend. Those kind of things become possible at around 25 cents per Flare token. I think that's a lot more, you know, hey, we don't need it to be a $1 trillion network tomorrow, right? There's going to be gradual quality of life improvements along the way. And that's going to extrapolate out to XRP and HBAR as well. I think Quant is kind of its own thing. So I am bullish on Quant, but I don't know that it's necessarily going to be tied neck and neck the way that XRP and Flare are. And I think HBAR is going to move similarly to XRP as well. And by the way, Stellar is going to basically move the exact same way that it's going to move the same way that XRP does. That's why I'm not buying Stellar. To me, they're basically the same thing, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. But it's like, I'm buying XRP, I'm buying Stellar. It's like the same thing to me. Let's see. So I ran through those topics. We'll jump to Twitter. I'll probably wrap this a little bit earlier than I normally do. Some people have left feedback that they said, hey, once you get through your ideas, then the stream is good. And I think I agree with that. I don't necessarily need to be going to 1 p.m. if I run through all the topics. I just want to share a couple tweets that I saw. So we already talked about this a little bit. I'm going to listen to this Paul Barron video. It's basically about Uphold, right? So if Uphold allows us to, and by the way, I don't use Uphold. If Uphold allows us to mint FXRP on their flat platform, right off this tweet, even 10% of that means that 150 million FXRP would get minted. So if you're in the collateral pools, just keep that in mind. I'm eager to see if this plays out. Do I get a very big bump from that? Now we got 5 months left of the experiment, so all that has to happen is Uphold go live with this within the next 5 months. We'll have that data.
We are just building in the integration to the DeFi protocol. We don't actually operate the DeFi protocol. Yeah. So we're partnering with a DAO for this first test. Then soon after that, you should start to see things like Flare appear in the app. You should start to see other things longer term that we're working with. I can't announce them all now, but lots of very influential crypto projects are now looking at how can they get more access to communities like XRP and tying those in. We are just...
So I think there's some value to some of these projects being on the exchanges. So we've talked about scams before here on the channel, but if you get scammed, it's usually because it's a link or a site that looks very similar to the real site you're looking for. Having all of the interface on Uphold does mean that you mitigate that risk. You're getting straight to the real network from the Uphold app. I think that's a good thing. I'm still largely a fan of the do-it-yourself mentality, but I know that not everybody out there is going to be the same way I am. That's just how I am. I know there's people out there that are more interested in the quality of life, having their security, you kind of offboard your security to have someone else take that, outsource it, right? So I can understand there's definitely a market for people that just want the security, and I think that's going to be a good option for them. Chris says, I started buying HBAR before XRP after watching a ton of Lehman Baird interviews and lectures. The guy is different. Yeah, when I saw him in person and I was hearing him speak, I'm like, okay, in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, this is literally the guy that's going to go to banks and pitch crypto. So I do want to start making more HBAR content. I do, because I think what I saw at the conference really showed me that there's a lot going on there. So I'm going to try and think of ways to start making HBAR content alongside the XRP and Flare stuff that I'm already making. So keep an eye out for that, because I'm going to be working on at least one HBAR video this week, maybe possibly two if I can find the bandwidth for it. This is just a meme. I saw this. I thought it was funny. I'll have to mute it because anytime I watch these things, I always get hit with whatever music is on here always gets me in trouble, but I'll at least play it without the music. I thought that was too funny. The music on it's funny. It adds to the humor, but if I play the music, then I get hit with a monetization strike. So, Chris asks, "Have you ever looked into Axelar?" I've heard of it. I know loosely what it is, but not enough to actually talk about it. I think it actually got mentioned at the Bitcoin conference. Or not Bitcoin conference, the Hedera conference. Sorry about that. But I don't know enough about this one to talk about it. But maybe it's something I can look into. probably won't read this one out loud. I'll just let you guys read the caption, and it just gives you something to think about. I'll give you about 5 more seconds to read it. More poopiness coming out of the Gerald Ford. So it's quite the situation. So, I'm hearing there's potential that these sewage systems were actually sabotaged. Who really knows, right? None of us are on the ship. But it may have been intentionally sabotaged to get the ship out of the Mediterranean, or at least to get it to not go to the Mediterranean. It's all back to what I said earlier, that I don't want crypto to hit because of war or global turmoil. And look, it could happen regardless of, you know, how I feel about things. That's so you have to have some objectiveness when buying, you know, and investing. But I'm not cheerleading for anything to happen in Iran. Actually, I'd prefer that nothing happens in Iran. You guys on the channel know that the Strait of Hormuz, if it gets closed, it's going to be an oil problem for the rest of Asia. And then, you know, that's going to cause a liquidity spike in the yen, and then that triggers the reverse carry trade, and then XRP goes to the moon. Cool. But I would feel very grimy and gross about cheering for our own sailors to get into a very bad situation just so that I can get super rich and buy a Lambo. It's a thing that, like, at some point you got to ask yourself, like, do I need the money that bad to be cheerleading for bad things to happen to other people? That's where I'm saying I don't think so. I'm happy enough to have this go a different way. So I'll leave you guys with that. I think I'm gonna start tightening up the stream a little bit just so we can get to the heavy stuff and then let you guys carry on with your day. It also gives me the opportunity to shoot more videos. So I'm basically here at the end. If you guys want to ask a couple more questions, I'm here. Otherwise, I'm gonna start doing my wrap up, which I guess I'll just start doing now. If you're watching here and you're not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Join the Discord. I've got it pinned in the chat box above. I'll check to see. We got at least one new person coming in. So welcome to the crew. Stand on business. Welcome to the party. You know, engage with us in the chat. I'm happy to hear about your guys' experiments. Just remember, no personal plugging, so don't post your own referral links. That's just a respect thing. And then I don't mind if you guys share your experiments, but I try to phrase it in ways that this is something I'm experimenting in, and I want to share my data. I want to avoid saying, hey, everybody, make sure to get into this or get into that. 'Cause at the end of the day, I got to look out for my own audience here, and I don't want people getting into stuff that they could lose their stuff on. Chris asked if I'm buying today. I have already bought. I picked up Flare and H-Bar this morning as the only two things I bought today. Put $100 into each. So I can't pass up a 9/10 Flare token. So that got bought, and then of course I can't pass up a sub 10-cent H-Bar either. So that got bought. I bought them at like 7 in the morning when they were at their lowest. I almost never get it timed right like that. So that is very happy about that. By the way, you know, you guys been rocking with me for a while, so I'll probably just tell you. You know, I have been out interviewing you guys, so I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to be on YouTube. I'm still going to be doing stuff, but I think it's better for the channel if I get my monetization from a day job, that way I don't have to constantly worry about making videos just to get paid. Then I can just focus on making videos because it's something people need to hear. It'll make it so that I don't have to, I haven't done sponsorships yet. I'd actually prefer not to do any, if I'm being honest with you guys. So I have been interviewing. Nothing's happened yet, but it's probably only a matter of time. What I'll do with this stream, I'll either stream at night, which I think is very doable, or I'll find some way to stream very short streams on my lunch break, probably something around 20 minutes. So at least that way we can still kind of keep this thing going a little bit. I know some of you guys are in Europe, so I want to keep the community together. I like what we got going on here, but I'm getting to the point where the paying the bills is getting tough. So I don't want to put that on you guys. I'm just gonna go out and take care of it. But that does mean that some of the scheduling of the content will change. Just something you guys are aware of, because it's eventually gonna happen. Chris, final question before I let you guys go. Chris asks, what's the best tool for educating oneself about the crypto space? So I've been buying books. If you want to help me out, I will at least give you guys, I'm going to give you guys my affiliate link for a couple of books, and then I'm going to let you guys go. Just give me a second to sign into Amazon. This will only take like 30 seconds. I'll give you guys some links for books. It does, hold on. I gotta do the 2-factor authentication here. If you buy the books from the links I provide, I get like 10 cents or something like that. I don't know. It ain't a lot, but I guess it's better than zero. Chris says, ironic, you used to have a fitness account. No, wait, so you've been here since the fitness account? Oh, that's sweet, man. I'm glad to hear that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, for those of you guys that don't know, I used to make keto/carnivore/bodybuilding content, and I got burnt out, so I just stopped doing it. It's a very saturated space, and there's only so much to say. Once you said it, it's like, well, what do I make my next video about? There's probably only like 100 video topics that you could possibly make about keto before you start having to start reshooting videos, or in some cases, getting involved in the hype culture around it. And that's something I didn't really like. So I'm going to be posting the Hijacking Bitcoin book. I'm reading it right now. If you do buy it through that Amazon link, I get like 10 cents or something like that. That's a good one. Another one that I would recommend is The Creature from Jekyll Island. This isn't necessarily a crypto book, but this book is finance. It's all about the history of finance. So The Creature from Jekyll Island. I think both of those are good. I think the Hijacking Bitcoin one is probably going to be the best as far as like how does crypto work. And then the book I'm going to read after I finish the Bitcoin book is going to be Start With Why by Simon something. By the way, I don't like audiobooks because if I listen to an audiobook, I zone out and then I end up not. I neither read it nor listen to it. I just eventually kind of like just blank out. So if I read a book, I force myself to actually sit down and read it. So I'm going to be reading this book, the paper version of it next. Start With Why. This is not a crypto book, but it's just a book that's going to make you smarter, I guess. So I just posted that because I'm going to be reading it next. But if you really want to know about Bitcoin, this book is really good. I actually recommend everyone this should be like mandatory reading. Anyone who wants to know about crypto should read Hijacking Bitcoin, because it actually explains to you how Bitcoin works. And it has enough information in there that you could have an elementary understanding of Bitcoin and be able to explain it to other people. It doesn't mean that you're going to become a software developer and that you can start writing code, but at least it gives you the information to say, oh, so that's how Bitcoin works. That's how mining works. That's what a node is. Okay, so these are nodes. These are validators. Okay, a block is just a bunch of transactions. Okay, a block can be 1 megabyte or 10 megabytes. Are they all the same? Oh, man. Okay, let's figure out. Oh, I know what's going on. I don't think they actually copied. So, okay, that time it should, okay, cool. So I think the first link was for the Bitcoin book, so that one I'll leave, and then start with the creature. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that, guys. I must have just not actually been copying. My bad, you guys. You guys know I suck with computers, right? Anyone who was watching my stream last Friday would know. That was me in bad form. We'll just pretend it never happened. Which I'm doing some Streisand effect by bringing it up over and over. I feel like you guys probably don't care. So there we go. Those links work. I just double clicked them to make sure. I'm going to go to get lunch, and then I think I'm going to do either an H-bar video or a Flare video tonight. I have to decide. I'm going to keep looking. Yeah, when I break out the calculator, you know the video I shot yesterday? Because it's so hard to type 300 friggin' trillion into a calculator. I had to redo like multiple times pieces of the video that came out yesterday because I could not successfully type 300 or 30 trillion into a calculator. But I did. You wouldn't even know it because in the finished video I just edited it all out, all the parts that didn't work. But I turned like a 50-minute video down to like 15 minutes because I had to keep redoing parts. But by the way, check that video out if you haven't already. It's about Nostro Vostro, and if you don't understand Nostro Vostro, then not to sound arrogant, but you don't understand XRP. So if you actually want to know why XRP will eventually be hundreds of dollars, you need to understand Nostro Vostro. So check that video out. It's in my most recently posted videos. Happy to have you guys here. This was a fun stream. I'm going to start tightening them up, I think, just because I think it's better not to just go directly to 1 o'clock just because I say it. So I think this is a good stopping point. I'm going to grab some lunch. I'll keep an eye out on Firelight. I'm hitting this refresh button a couple times a day. You're going to hear from me sometime this week. It's going to be up. By the way, Hugo Fillion will be live in Australia on the 27th, so keep an eye out for that. I appreciate it. I thought the thumbnail was funny too. I wasn't sure if people were going to like that or not, but I thought, you know what? I bet it'll actually get them to click it, which is the whole point. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.